We'll be assessing the mega event phenomenon and their economic impact on host countries and cities. The mega event phenomenon. Mega events such as the Olympics, Winter Olympics, and the World Cup, which bring a lot of attention for the host nations because of their popularity and how many people watch and attend these events. Since it brings so much popularity to the nation, it brings competition between countries to who will be able to host the events. This competition is often brought about because of the economic promises and attention that come with these competitions. Cost for host nations. For host countries and cities to be able to be home for the World Cup or to the Olympics, they can't just bring all the countries, tourists, and gather without preparations. They often need years of preparation in the infrastructures, such as stadiums, roads, security, and public transportation, such as buses or trains. Here are some numbers from different events of how much money countries have to invest in order to prepare for them. First, there's the 2002 World Cup, which was in Japan and South Korea combined. And both of the countries combined invested about $4 billion in stadiums alone, while Japan alone invested an estimated $4.6 billion into the stadium and infrastructures in their country, which was about 750 billion yen in their local currency. Also, countries had to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in security for the athletes and for every single country that come in these mega events. For example, the 2004 Olympics in Athens, Greece, they spent around $1 billion in security purposes alone for the event. This is evidence for how much countries have to invest and plan to be able to host these massive events. Economic impact expectation versus reality. Mega events, specifically the World Cup, bring immense expectations towards the economic upturns the country have in their host cities. Nations, when they decide to compete to host, they expect new jobs for the people and billions in revenue, not only from the game itself, but from all the tourists who will visit. For example, the 1994 World Cup in the United States was expected to make about $4 billion, while the 2010 South Africa World Cup expected $6 billion. However, it did not meet the expectations. The 1994 World Cup saw cumulative losses anywhere from $5.5 to $9.3 billion, which is way different from what was expected and promised to them. Why are the benefits so exaggerated? There are many reasons for why these benefits are so exaggerated by the host nations. First, they don't account for the non-attendees who decrease their spending because of the traffic brought by the tournament. These normally include people who already live in the area and don't want all the traffic from the tournament. Also, similar to this, there is the substitution effect, that normal tourists decide to not go because of the amount of people who will be at the tournament, so they decide choosing to other tourist locations. Finally, they don't properly consider the differences between the event impact alone and the already existing economic impact from these cities, and when you consider imports plus the labor costs, they end up losing money. Developing an ex-post economic model. To go a little further on the actual economic outcome of the 1994 World Cup, we can specifically use an economic model, which helps us assess the economic impact by getting the economic levels of if the event had not happened and comparing it to the city with the event. Here are some actual numbers from the ex-post economic model in the 1994 World Cup. First, there was approximately $712 million in losses per U.S. city that hosted the event. And after you calculate the losses for all the cities combined, there was a $9.3 billion loss like mentioned previously, and the numbers on that the probability there would be a negative economic impact after the event, it was found to be a staggering 93% chances of the economic impact being negative, or even more than 93, and only a 0.76% probability that the economic impact was actually positive and were the 4 billion gain, the money that they thought they were gonna gain. In conclusion, is it an honor or a burden? Hosting the World Cup is an honor for any country and can bring lots of benefits which are long-term, such as better infrastructure, since they have to prepare for the tournament. However, sometimes it can bring certain financial burden. This happens because lots of economics are exaggerated since the promoters of the tournament sell that idea. promoters such as FIFA for the World Cup. So policymakers and people in the government should make sure to evaluate critically in order to not have economic losses, and make sure to do a proper analysis before the tournament to make sure it's going to be beneficial for them and after the tournament as well. This was my analysis of mega events in different countries. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you for the attention.